So before we start that why monopoly does not have a supply curve, let's discuss what is actually a supply curve and what does it depict. See, when we talk of a supply curve, it is the relationship between price and quantity supplied. Right? So that means it shows that if price is this, how much would the seller supply? This much. If price rises to OP dash, then how much would the seller supply? This much. Right? So it shows that as the price rises, right, quantity supplied by the seller also rises. This is a general supply curve under perfect competition, and this is what we call a supply curve. Now, why such a supply curve does not exist under monopoly? So in monopoly, let's first analyze the monopoly equilibrium. In a monopoly, demand is same as the AR curve, right? AR is equal to DD curve, and this is your MC curve, right? Now, when we were talking under perfect competition, if you have done the perfect competition from ManQ, this supply curve is same as this MC curve. Okay? So MC curve and supply curve are same in perfect competition, right? And why this is upward sloping, we have just discussed. Now, why we cannot call this MC curve as the supply curve in monopoly? The reason is because there is MR pricing and P is not equal to MR. So what happens under monopoly? This is your MR curve. So your equilibrium happens here. So that means if Q quantity is supplied by the seller, if Q star quantity is supplied by the seller, how much price will he charge? If it would have been perfect competition, right? What would happen? AR is equal to MC and price would be determined. But under monopoly, we cannot say that this much price would be determined. Now, since AR is not equal to MR, for this quantity, the price would be this, right? So that means MR is not equal to AR, and for a quantity, for the price, MC is not equal to the price in this case. This is the case of monopoly, and this is like an introduction. Now we discuss that why it does not has a supply curve. For supply curve, we need various combinations of P and Q, right? Now in this case, we need unique combinations of P and Q for a supply curve. Now in this case, if suppose your AR curve is such that, I will use a black one for this. So suppose your AR curve is such that your MR is here. This is situation number 2. In this case, let me ask Nimish, what would be the point of equilibrium, Nimish? What quantity would be produced in this case if black, MR and AR are there?
Ma'am, same Q star.
Right. But in this case, what would be the price? Locate on A. This would be the price. So what we found in this case is that for the same quantity OQ star, we have two prices are possible. So one is your P star, the other is your P dash. Now, what would be the price depends on the shape, elasticities of the MR curve and AR curve, right? So that means the relationship between P and Q is not unique, right? For the same quantity, you can have multiple points. So let me plot this. Let me show you how would you plot this. So now suppose if you plot a supply curve, how would you plot a supply curve? Now we know that Q star is there. So either I can plot P star or either I can plot P dash. So यानी दो points आ गए. Supply curve तो unique बना ही नहीं. So that means supply curve is not here. This is case number one that argues that supply curve is not there. Case number two is that अच्छा why would there be one price अगर MR is equal to AR होता so what would be the price? This would be the price. तो यूनिक कॉम्बिनेशन हो जाता प्राइस और क्वांटिटी का अगर AR is equal to MR होता. But because AR is greater than MR, right? And there is a difference between the price and the MC. That is why the combination is not unique. निमिष समझ आया? निमिष?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Reason clear है.
Now there is another argument that can be given for the same thing. So what we can also have that for the same price we can have different quantities. So let me show that as well to you, what might happen in monopoly. So this is one combination of AR and MR. Just a minute. Let me draw this again. There is some error in the drawing. This is the case number two where we illustrate that why there is no supply curve in a monopoly. So if you say AR1 and AR2 are two kind of demand curves, right? Now you see if AR1 is the demand curve, MR would be MR1. What would be the equilibrium quantity? OQ would be the equilibrium quantity. और अगर हम price निकालेंगे तो P star आ जाएगा. Similarly, if your AR is AR2 or MR2, your equilibrium quantity would be Q dash and price would be P star. So if we go on plotting this curve, we do not have a unique combination of P and Q. No unique combination of P and Q. So if you go on plot a supply curve for this price P star, I have multiple quantities, either this point or either this point. So point is not unique. कौन सा supply curve बनाओ ऐसे ऐसे we do not know. So that is why there is absence of supply curve in a monopoly. To depict this you can draw two diagrams. One, this is the case number one when for same Q star you have two prices. And case number 2, when for same P star, you have two quantities. So that means there is no unique combination of P and Q in both the cases, and hence there is absence of supply curve under monopoly. Nimish, is it clear now?
यस मैम द कॉन्सेप्ट इज क्लियर बट जब हम इसको एग्जाम में मान लो लिखना है 5 मार्क्स के लिए तो हमको दोनों डायग्राम्स बनाने पड़ेंगे.
Yes, you can draw both the diagrams because see, concept को अगर हम intuitively समझाते हैं तो it is very difficult to explain. With a diagram, it is very easy. We can directly show that this is what is happening, right?
Okay, so ma'am, the reason which we will give is कि in monopoly there is no unique combination for price and quantity, and it can be illustrated by two examples and these two, and then we can explain them.
Yes, and also state this as well because this is the primary condition due to which it is arising, right?
Okay, this that AR is always greater than MR in a monopoly.
Right. And why is that so? Because in order to sell more,
Uh,
you will have to reduce the price. So one of the question you can get is why AR is always greater than MR under monopoly. The reason is if you want to increase quantity, you will have to reduce price, right? So that is why. ये तो
got it, ma'am.
uh, okay. So this is something which is like a thing which we have mugged up that in order to increase quantity. So if you see na, AR is nothing but the average revenue or the price. ठीक है? So if the total revenue is P into Q, find AR, it would be P. अगर MR का फॉर्मूला निकालेंगे, so what would be the MR? MR is nothing but if you differentiate TR with respect to Q, right? So it becomes Q के रिस्पेक्ट में करेंगे तो P plus, just a minute, P को Q को Q as it is dp by dq. Now you see in this case, this is the formula for MR and this is the formula for AR. So in this case, if you see MR और AR कब equal होगा? जब ये वाला term zero हो जाएगा, right? But this is not zero. In order to sell more, you will have to reduce the price. So this term is negative under monopoly. That is why MR is less than AR. I mean, if you are not getting it, it is okay, but it is easier to understand when we look at things numerically. That's why we say this term is negative and hence MR is less than AR. This is the formal definition.
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Okay. Okay, guys, now we start with the public goods. Let me stop this.